back again with another version of Eastern Shore Talk Around Town. This time we have Sarah. Thanks for joining us, Sarah.
Hi.
And we have three quick questions. Question number one, what does the term self-care mean to you?
I think it means taking care of your mind and your body and going above to make sure that you're healthy physically and mentally.
Awesome. And what's one thing you do for self-care?
I enjoy working out, jujitsu, and I like journaling.
Cool. And what have you been watching lately that you've been enjoying?
Law and Order SVU, especially Special Victims Unit.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, and catch us next time on Eastern Shore Talk Around Town. Take care, guys. Hello again, guys. Welcome back to Eastern Shore Talk, your podcast for all things self-care movies. If this is your first time, we're glad to have you. Welcome. We are on episode 36. I'm Jay Watson.
And I'm Cathy Castle.
And Cathy has brought along a very special guest in a very near and dear self-care category to both Cathy and I. So I'll let Cathy introduce our special guest.
Yes, we're very lucky to have Colin Perry joining us. And first, let me just say, I love her. I adore her. She is my own personal massage therapist, and I need to go to her regularly, or I won't be a nice, calm, centered person. So I'm very, very, very thankful for Colin. Colin's somebody that's lived on the Eastern Shore all her life as well. Our family paths have crossed through my work and her family. And I'm going to say she's a licensed massage therapist, but much more, because I want her to say what she is. She works here in East End, Whole Being Health Group. And if I didn't say it, I'm going to say it a million more times. She's amazing. So let the group know exactly what you're certified in.
Well, first, I want to say thank you, Cathy and Jay, for having me here. Cathy, the feeling is mutual. So thank you again for giving me this opportunity. I'm a licensed massage therapist, board certified in therapeutic massage. I'm a certified lymphatic therapist, Reiki master teacher, and do advanced craniosacral therapy. I've been practicing for 18 years now and have owned Whole Being Health Group for the last 11.
So, Colin, if someone, let's just say someone who's never had a massage before, and they come to you, and you're just kind of like going to ease them in and introduce them to all the things that massage can be, kind of walk us through kind of the beginner course you would give to someone who's walking into your office for the first time.
So at our office, we have a couple massage therapists who also do craniosacral therapy and a slew of other things as well. We have a couple acupuncturists and osteopath who primarily practices manipulation. So it's all trying to engage this self-healing mechanisms. In my personal practice, in my treatment room, I focus on using a combination of manual lymph drainage, craniosacral therapy, and some energy work. In addition to traditional massage, all depending on what the individual needs. Craniosacral therapy really focuses on listening to the nervous system and where we hold internal restriction within. And manual lymph drainage really helps to jumpstart the immune system and help the lymphatic system work as it should to help, get rid of metabolic waste. And then sometimes we just need a little, guided imagery, some other energetic techniques in order to feel fully recharged. So every session looks a little different, as I said, and it's always fascinating just to kind of see what presents itself in every session, because I'm sure Cathy can speak to how different sessions can feel.
Yeah, that was kind of going to want to be my next direction, Cathy. Is for you, what do you look forward to specifically, or are there specific things that you get out of it that are kind of helpful to you in your self-care? And here's another question: has there been pleasant surprises?
They always have sound.
I'm right next to the firehouse. We're excited about self-care. I've got the fire trucks going off. Did you catch all that question?
between the fire sirens. Well, I guess I've always been somebody who has enjoyed deep tissue massage, but and I can't even tell you the first time I had one, and a massage like that, and jumped around to different people because I was one that would do it maybe once a year. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna invest in myself once a year because that's ridiculous. It's why would I spend that on myself? I was that person. Like, okay, there's other things I need to take care of. I don't need, like, I guess I looked at it almost like a luxury, and I shouldn't do that for myself. And then I eventually landed on Colin. Like I said, I knew her family, so there was already a trust relationship there, and her. I don't know. Her and I have a good, or at least this is how I feel. There's a good energy between us. I knew she was the right person for me, and she said to me, I had a job change it within my organization, and actually her aunt was head of channel marker, and she passed away of a rare and aggressive cancer. And at the time, I'll never forget Colin coming to me because that was a really strange time. I lost a very dear friend, my mentor and supervisor for all of my adult career, really. And it was COVID, and there was just so much going on. And I had parents that had gotten COVID and were very ill. And she said to me, I'm worried about you, and I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to take this job, and I want you to be healthy. And I'm like, wow. And she really meant that, and I went in and saw her. And anyway, we've developed a routine now, and I'm probably in there once every five weeks or so. But for me, I had to learn to be really and I'm kind of an open person anyway, but I had to be open to what she was saying. Sometimes I tease her and I'm saying, what kind of hocus pocus you got today? Or what, how do you know that? I feel like she can put her hands behind my back and be like, oh, what you got going on here? Or did you got something going on with one of your kids? I'm like, darn it, how does she know? She's like a witch doctor. But
well, you got four. You got 4 kids, Cathy. That's just lucky. I can guess that.
Yeah, way to blow the mystery.
Nothing against Colin. I'm just messing with everybody.
So, and I like the whole combination that she has done. Like, I didn't know before I knew what deep tissue massage was, and I thought I was kind of a badass because I could handle it. I know some people are like, oh, that hurts, or I get bruised. I'm like, man, I'm tough. I like deep tissue massage. But she did other things like the cranial sacral therapy, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And the lymphatic drain. I didn't really understand what any of that was, so I was open. She'll try new things all the time. Sometimes she's got her fingers in my mouth. You open to this, Cathy? I'm like, all right, let's go, let's do it. And I can definitely feel I need it. And I know, Jay, you and I have talked about that. I mean, today I was watching the clock counting the hours. I was like, I am going to explode. I need to get in there because there is junk that needs to be released right here. I told her there was probably water on the floor from all the flood of junk that probably came out of me today. Not literally, just, like imagination. But I see, and when I'm there, I don't sleep. Ha ha, imagine that, Jay. Run my mouth. Jay's got something smart to say about that. But Colin is my body therapist. I enjoy talking to her through it and having her kind of challenge me to think, what's going on? What are you holding back? Or what are you taking too much on? What are you not doing for yourself? So it's really a time. It's an hour away. Nobody can get to me. I'm not answering any phones or texts, obviously. And she's challenging some of my own self-care and my own, what am I doing for me? And I see colors a lot. I don't know. Every single time I'll be like, oh, like I want to be like, oh, look at the pretty purple floating around. Like, I feel like there's always a cloud of a color of some sort, and it's always different. I know that sounds probably odd, but I look forward to it. Not only am I relaxed, but I also dump my junk, if that makes sense. And I love it, love it, love it, love it.
Well, it's funny, Colin. I'm actually fairly new, and I don't know if I've told you this yet, but I'm fairly new to the whole massage thing myself. I probably had my first massage probably.
No, you're not new. You're asleep. You don't even know what's happening.
Well, I'm so new that I'm just getting comfortable enough to fall asleep. But I probably had my first massage maybe 15 years ago. Somebody gave me a gift certificate, and I went on the
It
Western
starts with a
Shore.
gift card, doesn't it? It always
Yep,
starts with a gift card.
yep. And I went through, and Kathy, well, I started going regularly when I went through my breakup
Okay.
8 years ago now, and I was going every 2 weeks because
Good.
I was it just I was so just bound up and just struggling and had it all going on. That's the same time I started going to the movies every Friday night. It was the same time I started doing massage every 2 weeks. That they were like right this like almost to the day. They were like,
Do we lose Jay?
yep, that's all right. Yep, I knew, and I didn't. I've always been very like uncomfortable initially as far as stranger,
Somebody touching you.
yeah, you know. And I met my massage therapist through work, so we had kind of knew each other a little bit, so it wasn't a complete stranger. So that helped a little bit, and then yeah, so um, and I'm unlike Kathy. I'm different. There's no everybody's different, I guess, but I fall asleep, and it's always when she's on my feet. It's never any other time. When she's done, I don't fall asleep again after that. Um, and I was going to ask you, kind of, we talked a little bit about it before we started recording. Um, is there a correlation between the feet and falling asleep? And like when I say fall asleep, I am out, like dreaming, like deep. Um, and I know I don't last for very long. I don't sleep for very long because she's still on my feet when I'm. So, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what is it about my feet that make me fall asleep so easily.
Sure. So it's my understanding through like the belief system of reflexology that there are, I don't know, like 170 nerve endings in your feet and your hands. And so those nerve endings correlate with different organs or areas of your body. And, I certainly recognize in my practice, I do have quite a few clients that will find like a different plane of existence. So, it's like either they're on a different planet or they've taken a snooze. But they always come back to reality. And, I guess I kind of like attribute it to a nervous system reset of some sort.
Gotcha. So, how did you get into massage therapy? What kind of led you to go down that path initially?
So, funny story. I actually went to college as a theater major, music minor, and I thought I was going to be a famous Broadway star. And then I was bitten by a tick and realized
Mm.
that I would have to compromise quite a few things in order to be a famous uh, actor in any way. And so I dropped out of college, came home, and got a job in advertising and marketing, and became very resentful towards deadlines and selling a product that I didn't truly align with. And so I started going to yoga regularly. And
Mm.
my yoga instructor was also a massage therapist. And the language that he used about how stress manifests itself in our bodies really resonated for me. And so it was like really fascinating just to see like how um, like everything was very synchronistic after that. I decided I just needed to meet a massage therapist. And so I um, went to Evergreen Cove, and Damaris Borland happened to have 5 minutes to talk to me. And she happened to be the director of the massage program at Chesapeake College that just happened to be uh, just recently opened enrollment. So it was like all of these interesting synchronistic moments of like, oh, hey, this feels like it's for me. Oh, okay. And I remember being in school and knowing that, like, when we were learning about all the different modalities, that I would one day be a craniosacral therapist practicing complete decongestive therapy, also known as manual drainage. So, it's like funny how, like, we have these aha moments. And now 18 years later, I've really proud of lots of things that I've built, lots of connections that I've cultivated, and am grateful just to show up for people in the ways that they need.
I'm curious, Jay. I know you probably have other questions, but you mentioned when you first started talking about the person you were speaking with, you were learning about how stress manifested itself into our body. So I don't know if you have a quick response to that. What does that look like?
So it's kind of fascinating. It's like we have an event in our life and it's got us down, whether we're depressed or grief struck. Before you know it, we're protecting our heart, slumped over. It's like then we draw ourselves in. And before you know it, you've got this like neck pain,
Mm.
TMJ, headaches, migraines, can't sleep. And it's like, okay, how did this get there? How long has it been there? And, if that restriction could speak, what would it say? So it's like recognizing that, like, we can feel tension from, a physical injury, but we can also feel tension and restriction from unprocessed trauma.
That was going to be my question, Kathy, because I was going to, as Colin, as you were talking earlier, I was thinking about both through my previous experiences being a personal trainer and as I've kind of through this podcast and talking to people in different self care arenas, I've learned more about how we hold all of our experiences in our body in some way, shape, or form. Whatever that is, whether it's depression or anxiety, stress, we carry that in our physiology somehow, some way. And I love how, at least for me, and maybe Kathy, you agree, massage in whatever form addresses that. And I think I liked how you talked about, Kathy, earlier, your relationship with Colin and how you've understood each other and how you kind of have figured out how to work together to communicate this is what's been going on, and Colin can then say, okay, this is what I need to do. But it as I've learned more about how stresses and anxieties and things like that are carried in our body, um, the big umbrella of self care is so important for that. But massage therapy is so specific, is very intentional for that. So
Well,
yeah,
I believe in it so much at this point. I don't think I can live without it. And Colin has to give me like a 1 year notice of when she's going to stop, and then she's responsible for finding the next person. That will be her punishment for leaving.
Yeah, I have
But
no plans of retiring, so it's all
oh my
fine.
god! Thank God you're younger than me. But anyway, but think about what you said: headache, neck pain. We all have all kinds of stuff like that. And what are we doing? Let's pop the Motrin. And I'm not saying we shouldn't pop Motrin, but people are finding other ways to deal with those kind of pain points. It's like I went into Colin today, and I've had for probably a week and a half this crazy neck pain going into my shoulder, and I'm like, man, that can't come soon enough. She worked that out today, but we're all holding stuff.
And you don't ever realize just how heavy that weight is until it's not there anymore.
yeah. I used to always say, convince myself, partly because I was ignorant to how our bodies held things.
Yeah.
I would say, oh, I must have slept wrong, or
Right.
now I like to say, and I know what you're talking about, Kathy, that neck, or it's kind of off to one side, like where your
Yes.
neck meets the top of your back. And I think the whole being on your phone is some of that. We're always like this, look down at our phone instead of having better posture.
Mhm.
But it's also these other. It's also life. We carry life in our bodies. It's just we just do. So yeah.
And life isn't going to stop happening. So it's like,
No,
we
no.
have regular tune-ups for our cars. I guess I kind of see massage and other forms of self-care as like tune-ups for our body. It's just a matter of like figuring out what truly resonates for you on a soul level.
But Colin, I have it's happened less and less here lately. But I've had a history of sciatic issues. I
Mm.
kind of that was why one of the reasons why I was looking forward to going to see my massage therapist this past weekend was for that specifically. Um, and it didn't go away completely, but it's much better since I saw her. Is there something number one, what is that? Like physiologically, anatomically, what is that? Because it's kind of like where the lower back kind of meets the top of your butt, and it kind
Yeah,
of
that hurts.
it can kind of, it doesn't always shoot down my leg, but sometimes it does, and it's always the left side for me.
I
Um,
get some of it too, Jay. The sciatica. It's called
yeah,
we're getting freaking old.
yeah, but I've had it for a long time, and it used to be more frequent. It's not as frequent nor as severe now, and which is strange because you would think as you get older, that, but maybe it's the stress
Colin
is,
will probably have a better answer than I do, but I can
yeah.
tell you, I Googled some really simplistic exercises and I started implementing them, and it has helped me.
I was doing the foam roller there for a while at the gym regularly, and that seemed to really kind of make those back issues less frequent and less severe by doing that, just stretching and rolling regularly. I've been a little lacking in that here lately. So what can I do in between my massage therapy sessions, Colin, to kind of help with that?
Sure. Well, number one, are you a side sleeper?
Ooh.
Well, I am an all over the place sleeper. I toss and turn, so I don't stay in any one spot in a night. I'm literally back. The only place I do not sleep is on my stomach. I'm side to side. I switch sides and I do my back. So I'm three sides throughout the night.
Me too.
So oftentimes what I find with sciatica is that there's a imbalance in the pelvis. And so sometimes that's due to the sleeping position that you're sleeping in. Sometimes people have a leg length discrepancy, or there's some other pelvic floor imbalance. And so there are wonderful stretches that you can do. The foam roller is always wonderful as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like there are very simple exercises just to kind of like breathe, release, and like recognize how you're bracing for life quite literally. And it's like, oh right, I can see how maybe I'm drawn in more on one side versus the other, and like how can I find a different homeostasis or balance. There are plenty of great yoga stretches I'm sure you can find online. But again, it's like always for me, it's like because I also suffer from sciatica. But usually it's at a time that I'm really stressed and I'm not sleeping well. I'm probably sleeping, more on one side than the other and not doing appropriate stretches. I'm probably wearing the wrong shoes. And so it's like when I remember to stay hydrated and check all those other things, oftentimes I find different balance.
Yeah. Someone even told me one time that what they do is kind of in a more concentrated version of the foam roller is they take a tennis ball and they lean against the wall and they roll that tennis ball around like that, specifically hitting that area instead of doing the whole wide foam roller kind of version. And as a former personal trainer, I'm thinking I don't. I'm and now, let me tell you. You tell me what you think. I'm thinking that's fine because like my therapist kind of hit that area a little bit more than she did the other side, but I know me, I would be guilty of just hitting that spot and neglecting the other side. So now I'm kind of out of whack that way.
Well, and so what I have found is, why is the piriformis shortened and tightening and feeling uncomfortable and impinging a nerve? So oftentimes I'll look at some of the other synergistic muscles. And so most times when we're stressed, our psoas is active, and I'll find a trigger point around the psoas attachment, and then once I release the psoas attachment, then I'll find a different balance between the psoas and the piriformis. So it's like a matter of really evaluating how everything is working together, and like how do we get things to work more cohesively as a unit.
I told you it's hocus pocus.
But
it's actually anatomy, really.
it's like the psoas in the massage world is known as the muscle of the soul, where we hold all of our emotion. So it's like if you've got psoas issues, like what kind of emotion are you trying not to feel?
Jay, there you go.
That unlocks a whole different ball away.
I'm gonna get a stick. I'm gonna poke your psoas, and then I'm gonna stroke your foot and put you to sleep.
You know,
I'm giving away all my secrets. I'm going to have people like, oh, I know how to get. I know Jay's buttons now.
Hey, you're sleepy.
My feet and my psoas are my Achilles heel.
right? And
Jay,
it's like,
what
oh, I wonder
20%
like
off on that
ooh, on your foot.
carpet?
What's that, Colin?
I wonder what point on your foot do you fall asleep? You know, is it like your kidney? Is it, you know,
Oh,
like
Hmm.
here
it's
it
all
goes.
fascinating.
I'm going to start paying attention more specifically to like where on my foot. I'm going to like be very
Tell
like
me to try a dog, not
very
guy.
I'm going to be very analytical now and be like, okay,
Put a
yeah,
Sharpie, mark the Sharpie point on your left foot.
She
and
might already know
and
the answer.
yeah, it's funny. I never paid attention to when I fell asleep. I just realized that I did, and then Kathy will tell you I'm very analytical. I'm all about the whys in life and anything. So I'm like, what is it that? So I was discovering that it's my feet. So and it's funny. Like I love a good scalp massage. Like that. That's where she starts for me. And like if I could pick one area for her to do the whole time, it would be that. But I don't fall asleep for that because I want to enjoy. I want to be awake to enjoy all of that. But it's something about my feet where it's just like I don't care enough about my feet to worry about it. But it hits something, and I don't know if it's my right foot or my left foot. I don't know. But I'm going to really hone in on that. And yeah,
You're not gonna know because you're asleep.
Hey,
well, and it's funny. I don't feel my sleep like it's not like a. It's like almost instant. It's not like I start to nod off and it takes a minute. Like I'm like 1 minute I'm out, like out cold, like instantly.
Wow.
it's a good thing you're finding your spot. You must
Yeah,
be.
yeah. I don't go. I only go about once a month now. I don't go as frequently. But I like Kathy. I'm the same way. Like I'm. Um,
Watching the clock.
yeah, I actually had to push her back a week, and I hated doing it. But I'm always counting down. I'm like, oh yeah, the weekend's here. Let's hurry up, and get to Sunday. Because normally I'm like, okay, weekend, slow down. But on massage weekends, I'm like, okay, Sunday, let's get here. So it's
But I think massage is one of those self care things that you and I have talked with as an idea. There's lots of different things people can do for self care. Obviously, some cost money, some don't. But what a good investment in your health, And we talk about it's not selfish and it's not, extravagant. Oh, I shouldn't spend that on myself. You should spend that on yourself.
yeah.
Obviously,
Well, and there has been a couple recent studies, one that Baylor did, saying that, if you incorporate a massage therapist in your healthcare regimen, oftentimes that's like one of the best moves that you can do just because they almost act as like a navigator. It's like, oh, do you need physical therapy? Do you need to see your primary care physician? Like recognizing which direction would give you the best results depending on what your situation is.
Kind of let me give me your thoughts on. And this is a totally different field from you, so I understand if you don't really want to get into it too much for obvious reasons, but I've considered going to see a chiropractor at times. What's your general thoughts about that? If you're willing to share something like that.
So sure. I have a lot of clients that also see chiropractors. I myself have never seen one. I'm not opposed to them. Some people find great success, some people don't, but that's kind of like any modality. It's a matter of finding like what truly resonates
Yeah,
with you. I myself get regular craniosacral therapy and cranial osteopathy, which kind of like acts, cranial an osteopath can do some chiropractic maneuvers. They can also do some physical therapy maneuvers and some energy work too. So to me, like that is the blend that works for my body. But I have plenty of other friends and clients that prefer to see certain other practitioners. But, I think the most important thing is making sure you have the right connection that gets you the best results.
to explain a little more to people who might not know what that cranial sacral therapy is exactly. I mean, we know about the lymph nodes, the drain, but maybe people don't know what that is.
So sure. So, just like our blood vessels have a certain rhythm to circulating blood, as do our lymphatic vessels also have a certain rhythm to moving lymph, then our cranial system has a certain rhythm to moving cerebrospinal fluid. And so there are lots of different beliefs around that. And so with craniosacral therapy, it's really listening to the nervous system as to where there is connective tissue restriction and recognizing the role that restriction has, just like in the cohesiveness of connective tissue overall. And kind of like what is trapped in the tissue there, and how do we listen to it so then it can reintegrate itself back into the rest of the body and operate as expected. Um, Craniosacral has been like my most recent passion. I've taken, I guess, last week I took a class on craniosacral for grief, death, and dying. And just recognizing, there's all different types of things that we can hold in our tissue. And, it's like, what kind of presence do we need in order to feel seen? Um, and so, like, it's just fascinating to me just how, initially when I got into massage, I thought, oh, deep tissue is the way to go. But sometimes what I find is that there's these repetitive holding patterns, and deep tissue massage is not always what can fully penetrate and release it. And sometimes it's really just finding a different kind of perspective and releasing it in a different manner.
Colin,
And
talking.
I enjoy that. I was going to say, she does a combination of that for me, and I wouldn't know what that was, but I really enjoy that as well, and the more you get into this, and then you learn about, holding stress in your body and your connective tissue and what's going to be helpful, and then you're open to it. I just think that, it overall makes you feel better.
Colin, talk a little bit about Reiki for those who might be
Mm.
listening that may not be aware of what Reiki is and what Reiki can do for us.
Sure. So Reiki is a form of energy healing. Um, there are several different hand positions that you can place your hands in order to offer a different type of co-regulation. I mean, I guess that's kind of how I justify some of that. And, it's an energy transfer. So sometimes you just recognize that there's a different heat that comes off of your body, or sometimes you see colors or images. And again, it's just paying attention to like what you notice in your body and how is there restriction associated with it, and what kind of movement do you need. So there are 7 different chakras or energy centers in the body that kind of correlate with the circulatory system. And each one kind of has a different color or organ system that is associated with it. And so it's really kind of fascinating how, sometimes when people present with different symptoms and, they say, really, I can't associate with this part of my body. And I say, okay, well, close your eyes. What color do you see? And then I'll say, okay, well, that's associated with your solar plexus chakra, which is where we digest our life. What are you trying to digest? And then before you know it, their low back releases and they feel like they can come back in their body a little differently. And so it's, just applying lots of different types of, approaches in order to offer transformation. So Reiki was one of the original things that I started with. I think I started my Reiki journey before I even was an official massage therapist. And so it's really fascinating just how energy is woven in so much.
I mean, I'm telling you, I get a bouquet of colors. Today is just purple, but I blue, orange, yellow, green. She can pull a whole rainbow out. It's crazy. I just can't even believe it.
It's like a kaleidoscope.
And
Yeah.
sometimes she can pull tears out. Sometimes a tear will run down my face. I can't even explain it. Like, I'm not sad, but sometimes a tear will come out.
Well, and like tears are a product of the limbic system, and it's like you just never know
Mm.
kind of what transformation we need. So sometimes we have happy tears or sad tears, or sometimes unexpected tears, and it's like, okay, just trust that I needed it.
Yes.
Shoo. I cry. I cry every day. I've told Cathy I literally cry every day. Well, nowadays they're happy tears, and I don't intend. I don't try. I don't do it on purpose. It's just I don't know.
It's that emotion. It's that whatever thing
So
that
as
is making you cry.
look, it's I did it today. I was going through my gospel music, and I'm just it's spiritually centered for sure for me. But there's also because and I'm as I'm crying, I'm thinking, wow, this is pretty cool that I'm so connected to what this means to me right now in this moment. But part of me is like, I want to. I'm such an analytical person. I'm like, but why? But really, why? Yeah. Um, so, Colin, outside of the things that you practice, what are some of the things that you do for self care aside from those things that you practice with what you do?
Sure. So outside of regular massage, I also meditate regularly. I hike. Um,
She
I
likes nature.
yeah. I read. I have a book club that I just adore, where we read nonfiction, and it's great. I also sing. I sing with the
Hmm.
Allegra Academy. We have a concert this weekend. And oftentimes we sing uplifting songs about love and light, and collective community engagement is healing, so they say. What else do I do? I spend time with my family.
You're still a Broadway person.
Oh, right. I'm going
She
to be in the Sound of
performed.
Music with the Avalon Theater. So, I volunteer a good bit. I'm a hospice volunteer. Um,
Waterfowl volunteer.
and I'm on the board of the Waterfowl Festival. Um, so, I keep busy with lots of things that are near and dear to my heart. Got to focus on the soul recharge.
I tell you, Kathy, it's funny. Most of the people we've talked to on this podcast bring up meditation.
Oh yeah.
It more and more people are talking about that. I've never done it. There are different types of meditation. I tell you what I think I would be interested in is guided meditation.
Mhm.
I think that I could get into.
And Colin has an app that you use, right? That you
I
prefer.
do. Of all the apps that I've tried, my favorite is a free app called the Insight Timer.
I've
There's
heard a lot of people
a
say
lot
that.
of really great meditations out there. There's also some ones that are not as great, but it's free.
Is Albert still involved with the Waterfowl Festival?
That's
I
such a
don't know
random
if we'll
question.
ever be able to truly get away. He and Jennifer are the chairman of the premiere night, so I'm so grateful for his presence and their family. All in all, you know.
Jennifer's my cousin. That's why I ask. I knew he was been involved for a long time, but I didn't know because he's coached forever and a day. He's been involved with the Waterfowl forever and a day. Yeah,
I don't know if they'll let him go. I think the Pritchett's are lifers. They're legacy volunteers.
yeah, yeah.
Grateful.
And did you know that Colin's grandfather, right,
Yes.
was one of the original founders, co-founders, right, of the
Really?
Waterfall Festival?
Yes.
She's a legend.
So
It's
I
a
grew up
legendary
in the
family.
Waterfowl Festival.
Huh.
The Perry family's legend.
Wow.
I did want to see if you would, I don't know if you feel like talking about this, but I think it's worth it because she has an allergy. She has a tick-borne allergy. I don't know if you feel like educating a little bit the public because I don't think it's an allergy that a lot of people are aware of. And I think
Sure.
it's worth noting because, gosh, I'm sure you have to do a lot of self-care around
Yeah.
regulating yourself because of it.
Yeah, and all of the tools that I've acquired have really been instrumental in my health and wellness. It's been an interesting journey. I have alpha gal, which is a tick-borne illness where I am allergic to mammal and mammal byproduct. I have a pretty high sensitivity where I am vapor reactive to beef. I'm not vapor reactive to all forms of mammal, but if I ingest them, I will go into digestive anaphylaxis. And so it has been quite a fascinating journey through life. I probably have had it since I was 18, but didn't know it and went into remission. But recognizing, like, following my health timeline, there probably was some connection. And now that I know how to define my reactions, I have a much different trust and ability to not second guess myself.
That's so interesting how that came about. I'm guessing from a tick bite. It was what it was. What it was. That's just
It's
so. Yeah.
a Lone Star tick.
I've had
Is that what it
Lone
is?
Star tick. I've had a series of tick bites. Especially living on the Eastern Shore, you don't think anything of it. They're like mosquitoes here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after I had my second child, I had a series of reactions that were hard to ignore. And thankfully, I was able to get some care. I even went to go to UNC to see Dr. Scott Commons, who's one of the top alpha gal specialists in the country. And, it makes me sad that we don't have more support in that realm, but I'm super grateful that he was able to help me find my new homeostasis.
Hmm.
Well, I just think that, I probably learned about it from you, and then two other people that I know have that alpha gal allergy. Not as severe as you have it, but it's definitely causes problems for people, especially if you're in restaurants or even something could be in a capsule that you're taking,
Sure.
a supplement, or that you don't know that is in a capsule, a vitamin or whatever.
Well, absolutely. Whether it's magnesium stearate in any prescription medications, or sometimes they inject even poultry at the grocery store with gelatin to make it look nicer. It's like everywhere. I one of the one of my signatures with my massages is that I make all of my own homemade product with free of allergens, so then I know exactly what's in it and don't have any reactions. Um, so it has been interesting, like gathering all the different coping strategies and then offering that to our community at large, because there's really very little support when it is so life changing, and not many understand it. And I remember the first Thanksgiving, my mom was so sweet and was so excited to make me a pecan pie um, that was going to be compliant with my allergies, but she just put a little bit of butter in it. But
Hmm.
even just a little bit of butter will still cause anaphylaxis. So, I appreciate all of the intention, but recognizing that it's just a whole different school of thought. So, it's like I'm grateful for, the craniosacral therapy and how it's helped me to regain regulation with my nervous system, and then also the manual lymph drainage and helping my immune system to like find new ways to help heal itself and find homeostasis again. So, I'm grateful that I've been able to offer that to other people that have had tick-borne illnesses or other issues with neuroinflammation. And it's like, who knew that that's how I would get to use my tools? But it's funny how things find us.
Well, and inflammation is something that that is talked about a lot too, right? Inflammation is just a very not so good thing for us, right? I don't know if you have anything to say about inflammation or what people can kind of do to deal with that in their bodies.
Sure. So, staying hydrated is probably one of the best things to do.
Okay.
Make sure you get enough water. My sister's a dietitian, and I think she recommends half your weight in ounces of water a day,
Goodness.
which is a lot. Like we feel like we
Tough.
might be floating, right? So hydration is number one. Um, Also paying attention to like how things feel in your body. If it upsets your stomach, there's probably some inflammation. If there's burning in your throat or itching in your ears, there's probably some inflammation. And it's like, how long do you want to ignore that? And, is that creating other internal restriction that's not appropriate? Um, I one of the things that I found, at first I started as a lymphatic therapist and then branched off to craniosacral therapy, and the craniosacral therapy really helped to open the lymphatic system around the brain differently, and then helped to resync both the nervous system and the lymphatic system together when I use them in combination. And so, I think we spend so much time in this hustle culture, trying to keep up. We don't realize how much we're dissociating from different parts of our body and not listening to what we're holding and how there's restriction. And then before you know it, our tissue's not as cohesive. And so it's like, how do we get everything to reintegrate back into one?
I know. And one more thing I wanted you to talk about quickly is the vagus nerve,
Ooh.
because I know you do some things with that. That's a good little hack.
So one of my favorite hacks for the vagus nerve is just to hum for 30 seconds. It's amazing how just offering that tiny little nervous system reset can like change your perspective overall. The craniosacral therapy really works in helping to reset the vagus nerve and take our brain out of the fight or flight response. It's like we have a whole different access to deeper thinking when we're not in that fight, flight, freeze.
It's funny you talk about that, Kathy, because every time I have tried to give blood, I pass out. And I asked the nurse one day, I'm like, why does this happen? She's like, it's a vagal response. So
We know a lot about you today, Jay. We know how to make you in another state of
Colin massage therapized me from on the podcast without even touching me.
We know how to knock you out.
I didn't see any colors, but man, I divulged some information today.
Colors is your next goal, Jay.
How does that help you get back in your body? Yeah.
So, Colin, before we switch gears and talk about movie and streaming, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you if they want to have some of your services.
Sure. So I am on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm also, you can find me at wholebeinghealthgroup.com, and send me an email at colinperrylmt@gmail.com.
Very nice.
All right, Colin, let us know what you've been watching lately. Anything fun, movies and TV wise?
So I'm in this chapter of life where, I've got kids under the age of 10. So when I go to the movies, I usually see a kids movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen
I do too, and I don't have kids. Yeah.
Yeah. So the latest movie I've seen, latest two movies, Harold and the Purple Crayon, which was good, and If, which I thought was fantastic.
Yes, loved it.
Absolutely. And we're currently watching Shrinking on Apple TV. I love that. If you haven't watched it yet, with Jason Segel and Harrison Ford.
I've heard good reviews. I tell you something, Colin, your kids will also love The Wild Robot.
Ah, okay. We haven't seen that yet.
It's a children's movie, but it's very adult friendly. It made me think. I'm like, oh, this. I loved how they. You know how in Inside Out and Inside Out 2 they use those animated characters to talk about. Well, the newest one was about anxiety. They explained what anxiety was. Well, they kind of do this too. There's this lesson that they present to you. You as a 57-year-old man, I'm thinking, they're giving the kids version of this, but I'm like, wait a minute, this is just as much for me as it is for a 10-year-old. It's we had Chris Moore on, Kathy, and I was saying that I think the Wild Robot's going to be one of those classic. 20 years from now, people are going to be like, oh, hey, their grandchildren. Let's watch Wild Robot. It's going to be one of those. It's presented so good, and it's got such a profound and important message. I cannot recommend it any higher. But I loved
Yeah.
I
loved
haven't
it.
seen any of these.
What? What's wrong
I
with you,
know.
Kathy?
I know Jay has to remind me about the voice being on Kathy. He just says voice. And I'm like,
Colin, and there's I'm big on music in movies, and that when the Tina Turner song started playing, and the little girl starts imagining all these different things, and then they do the dance thing. I was like, yep.
Oh, yeah. And it's like my husband and I laugh, it's like we know if we're already crying in the shorts before, it's like we're cornered the rest of the kids movie. And it's like, okay, all right, I see it.
It made me, when that part came on, I sat up in my seat. I was like I wanted to pay attention closer. It's so good. It's funny. It's kind of like Willy Wonka and the Wizard of Oz and A Sixth Sense.
Yep.
And it's funny, and I don't want to give it away to Kathy because she hadn't seen it yet, but
I will eventually.
I mean, and who doesn't love Ryan Reynolds? Like, come on.
Yeah.
My bingo card is full of movies and streaming for 2025.
And this was a John Krasinski movie, and he's really starting to get some legs. Yeah, he's starting to really. When he did, what's the one he did with his wife where they can't talk? Yeah. Anyway, that was his first directorial thing, but yeah, it's so good.
He won me over with Good News during the pandemic. He just started his own little YouTube channel, just issuing good news because there was just so much junk.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Full on. Yeah, well, we'll definitely have to see Wild Robot for sure.
It's so good. It's so good.
What is that on, Jay? Is it on?
I think I just saw it. It just got streamed. I don't know, but it's streaming somewhere, so yeah, you'll be able to find it. It was only in theaters maybe 2 months ago. So,
Okay.
what about you, Kath? You been watching anything?
No, zilch, nada, nothing.
Uh, uh,
Nothing.
did you see? Well, you saw the 13-year-old boy sing last night on The Voice.
Oh goodness, yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm Jay's trying to string me along so I watch a full season of The Voice because I'll watch it in the beginning and then I drop off. So he's like every week, it's on, it's on, it's on, and then I'm oh yeah, it's on. But yeah, that kid was good. That kid was so good.
yeah, and he picked a great song. I tell you, it's every week I get more and more impressed with this specific set of judges. And Snoop Dogg,
He's good.
he's, I mean, number one, he's just cool. He's just like he's like somebody you just want to hang out with. He's just cool. But did you hear what he said to the kid last night about representing black kids? He said,
Yes, that's what it should look like.
he said, when I first came out, I did the opposite. I was not what, we want black kids to be. He said, you're doing it the right way. I congratulate your parents. Snoop Dogg he gets it now.
He should be like Time Man of the Year.
Yeah.
He should be a motivational speaker.
Right?
He's so positive. He's so uplifting. He's just such a light, and he's a good dude, man. He just is.
Totally.
But all of them, and the very first set of knockouts last night, Cathy, all three people sang they were all three came back because
they stole the one.
Snoop picked his winner. The girl got stolen by she got saved by Snoop, and then the other guy got saved by Reba. So all three, they were like, I was bawling when they were showing rehearsals, and Sting was the mega mentor for that one. Sting was breaking down, and Snoop was crying because the guy that sang about his father who just passed away, Snoop's mom just passed away not too long ago. So Snoop's crying, and Sting is crying, and it's just, and all
Jay was crying.
I was, but that's not saying anything because I cry during all those shows. It's those moments. It's like those where the right type of song, and you see especially when young people they start to grow into their passion, and they start figuring out, okay, I'm worthy of this, and I can do this, and you see them. One of these coaches gets a hold of them, and they teach them, and you can see them really start to grow, and this light bulb comes on. You can see it, how they're like, okay, now I belong. And I love that. It's the moment. It's not, we hear these songs a million times and they're cool and all that. But when the right song and the right moment with the right person kind of all comes together, and it seems like it comes together all the time for me because that's the biggest reason why I watch these shows, because those, like the E.M. Tongies on American Idol, those moments when this kid loses his father and he sings this James Blunt song that's just like ridiculously powerful anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So nothing else, just The Voice for you, Cathy, lately?
Yeah, I've been pretty boring.
Haven't haven't caught up with Outer Banks?
I haven't watched one bit of it. No Outer Banks. I talked last week, right? I went and saw the movie here. Waiting for Wicked. Gonna try to do that.
I'm so looking for it. Yeah, the next 3 weeks are going to be great movie weeks for me. Red One is this week, then Wicked, and then Gladiator 2 after that. So 3 weeks in a row.
I'm gonna see Red One on December the 6th.
I saw a movie called Conclave this past weekend. It's a great cast. John Lithgow and Ray Fiennes, who plays Voldemort, and then Stanley Tucci and Isabella Rossellini are all in it. And it's about how when a pope passes away, how the College of Cardinals comes together and basically selects the new pope, and how
they go in with the smoke.
Well, they release either the white smoke or the dark smoke. Yeah. Well, they go behind the scenes and what they believe is their representation of that, and how people are like trying to get votes from the other cardinals, and they're running for office basically, and how there's like this backstabbing and like really immoral stuff behind the scenes in the Catholic Church, and it was very interesting. just watching all that. I wasn't sure it was going to hold my attention, but it really did, because there's a mystery behind all of it. Because there's a question about how the original Pope passed away, so we're trying to figure that out. And it was interesting. It was it was dramatized, because I don't know that anybody really knows all the ins and outs of that. It's so secret.
Yeah.
They literally lock them in this building for however long it takes, and nobody's allowed in or out. They don't give them the news, nothing. So
I couldn't handle that. I'd be running out of there with smoke.
but yeah,
Thanks, folks.
it was interesting, and there was some very immoral stuff, at least how they portrayed it, that was happening in who was going to become the next pope. And there are some like real social issues that come into play. Yeah, so it was at least it held my attention. It was a nice like average, you know. I didn't fall asleep. I didn't leave early, so it was okay.
This is good. Go to the movie theater time, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Good. Well, and Jay, I think we've talked about this before. When you go, like I gotta have the soda, the popcorn, and the snow caps. I gotta like have that.
I do.
You're just a popcorn soda.
I don't do popcorn. I like popcorn. I don't like stuff stuck in my teeth, so I don't eat popcorn. I get a small soda, and I don't even drink maybe 3 sips the whole time. I'm not a soda person, never have been, but I just do that to keep, because my mouth gets dry or whatever, and just to kind of sip on something. That's it. When I get there, Colin, I'm very like OCD, very regimented. I get there 30 minutes before. I'm not a social person at all, but the movie theater, I love getting there and watching people and seeing if I know anybody that walks in. And I'm actually on the Jay Watson scale. I'm a social butterfly at the movie theater. There in the gym. I'm very social, but nowhere else. So yeah, it's and I go every Friday night. I cannot remember. It's probably been 2 or 3 years since I've missed a Friday night.
They ought to name a seat after you.
I discovered during that same time I got into going to massage that it's like a switch for me. I originally went to distract myself because I was going through a difficult breakup, and I just wanted to get out of the house to not think. I just wanted to be away from my head. But I started, as I've kind of cleared that fog, I'm learning that it's like a switch for me. It switches off my stressful work week mindset and kind of turns on my, okay, now it's time to relax for the weekend mindset. So it's literally and it's so, I live a mile from the movie theater, and in that mile, I can feel my body as I'm driving, just like exhale. And it's like, it's an event for me. And sometimes I've got to really like push myself to find a good movie to watch. And I watch all the animated ones, and some of them are great. And I've had anxiety attacks in the movie theater, had to leave and stuff like that. But it's just something about my mind goes somewhere good when I go to the theater, and it just kind of carries me over through the weekend. And
we need a documentary about you, Jay.
Do it.
Maybe we can talk Chris Moore into doing that.
The real Jay Watson.
Yeah, and talk about my feet making me fall asleep when I get massaged and all that kind of stuff.
Jay.
What's that?
Therapeutic spaces with Jay.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Not that anybody would have watched that, but it's been an interesting ride from the first person perspective, that's for sure.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next few weeks. I'm trying to think about anything that's after the next 3 weeks that's good. There's normally something. I did start watching. I started watching last night, Cathy, on Disney Plus. The latest Marvel.
I didn't even know there was one.
Agatha All Day. Remember in WandaVision?
Yeah, she was a bad one, right?
She was a bad witch. Yes, she's got her own series now. Catherine Hahn is in it.
And it's the same girl. Is the same actor?
Yep, same actress. And then also,
wait, what's it called? Agatha what?
Agatha All Day. And it's actually been. I was like, I wasn't the biggest WandaVision fan, so I'm thinking,
I like WandaVision.
it was just too weird how they presented it. But anyway,
Well, are any of the other ones in it?
not anybody that we recognize so far. There's this other really famous actress, and I can't remember her name. She's the other big. And I've only watched one episode or two episodes, but it's very. I can't wait to watch the next one. It's very.
Really?
It's speaking of Wicked. It kind of she's trying to get her powers back because remember the Scarlet Witch took all her powers, so she lives in that
So
one.
it's after the movie. It's after.
Yes,
And she's in that. She's in that.
she's still in the WandaVision world,
Okay.
but she doesn't realize it at first because she has no power. So she thinks she's this detective.
Like she was the neighbor before, right? So she's back to being that
well,
neighbor.
no, she's not the neighbor. She's a detective. She's a police detective. Different town, but that type of place. She's sent into a different reality by the Scarlet Witch. But she starts seeing that she starts piecing all these things together, and she's like, "Wait a minute!" And then she gets this kid comes to see her. He knows who she is, and the neighbors and all know who she is.
So I might need to watch this.
It's good. I was very pleasantly surprised. But in the very end of the last episode, she's trying to go on what's called the Witch's Road, which is the only way she can regain her powers. But there's 4 or 5 different colors of witches, and they each like earth, wind, fire, and water. She needs a witch from each of those elements to go with her to do this chant to be able to open the Witch's Road. And she finds them and opens the Witch's Road. And it reminds me of the Wizard of Oz, how they're going down this path and they have no idea where they're going or what they're going to experience. But it's at the end of the last episode, they find the road and they're just about to embark. They have to take their shoes off for whatever reason, and they're starting to walk. And that's where the last episode ended.
Well, now you're filling up my I need to see even more.
I was shocked how much I like because I didn't hate WandaVision, but I didn't like it as much as Loki. Definitely didn't like it as much as Hawkeye. I've been seeing the previews for Thunderbolts with what's her name with Scarlett Johansson's character's sister.
Oh yeah.
And the guy who was in Stranger Things, who plays her adopted father with the red, was in prison that they broke out.
Oh,
Red something he's called. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
In Stranger Things, he was Jim. Right?
No. He plays.
He was in prison?
No, he was the cop.
Jim Hopper.
Yeah. Hopper, yes. Okay. All I can think of is Hopper because they all call him Hopper. Yeah. But he's in it. Florence Pugh, who plays, what is her name? What's Scarlett Johansson's character's name? Black Widow.
Oh, Black Widow.
Well, Black Widow's sister, is played by Florence Pugh. It's those two.
Is she that character?
Yes.
Which I forget the name. She was like, was she Russian? And
she was like, yes, she was her adopted sister.
She was tough.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And then also, I can't. Why are all these characters blanking from me? The new Captain America, the flying guy. What's it?
The new Captain America. Yeah, the flying guy. I can't think either, but I know you're talking about.
Oh my gosh! As many times as I've watched these Marvel things, I can't remember the characters' names. Yeah. So those three. It's the new. The new Avengers, but they're called Thunderbolts.
Good to know.
So, yeah.
Good too.
What's that?
Moana 2.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one I was thinking of. It comes out right around Christmas or sometime in December.
I think
yes,
right around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And then I saw in 25. Is this correct? Like another Shrek, another Frozen, another Toy Story, and they better fix what they messed up in 4. And then something else. I don't know. There was quite a few Disney stuff coming out.
Fantastic Four, the new version of Fantastic Four. And then, of course, un-Disney related, Stranger Things.
Love some Stranger Things.
I keep seeing Millie Bobby Brown post like things on her TikTok or on her Instagram, like being on set filming. And apparently one of the characters something happens that we're not going to like, but they won't divulge anything yet.
It always happens like that. There's always something we don't like. I wish. Well, if you weren't loading my bingo card up so full, I'd go back and rewatch all Stranger Things.
I'm going to have to do that probably. I'm really curious to see what kind of new music that they introduce, because the music has been perfect. Like it could not have been.
Out of all the songs, what's number one for you? I got one. Out of the Stranger Things.
Oh, Running Up the Hill, easily. Yeah.
What about you, Colin?
Oh, it's Running Up That Hill.
No, it is separate.
Well, that's number 2. Yeah, that's number 2.
I mean, it's so dramatic. It's so good.
Yeah, it ended one of the episodes like that. I can't even think of any other songs other than those 2 that have been in that series.
And another one I remember is Don't Mess Around with Jim Hopper, when he was mad at Mike, thinking he was starting to like 11. And he gets in the car and he's got that playing, and I just thought that was hilarious.
It's funny because I'm sure that there were many. Like, don't they go roller skating or something? It's the '80s, so they were like, they went to dances and stuff. So I'm sure they played tons of them. But
there's a soundtrack.
It's where they put those songs in the movie that make you feel. And then the Running Up the Hill has been probably in 2 of the biggest scenes in the whole series.
I'm embarrassed to admit this. I didn't remember that from the 80s.
I didn't either. Okay. I didn't either.
And I think they did a whole behind the music on that, because it's a real song that exists in the 80s, and they really tried to find the right song that they could bring back and be authentic at the same time. It's awesome.
It really.
Oh wait, what was the song where what's his name played on top of the van or whatever? Eddie.
Oh yeah, the rock song where he played the guitar to it. Yeah. But that song actually went to number 1 because of Stranger Things, and it broke the record for the biggest gap between when the song was originally released until how long it took to go to number 1. It like exploded.
It's kind of like Guardians, where Guardians you'd have the soundtrack.
Yeah.
What's the next mixtape? That it's kind of like the same thing with Stranger Things. What's the next?
Yeah.
What's going to be in the next season?
Yeah, with Guardians, it's kind of like that became one of its signature things. Mm-hmm. Like, what was Star-Lord going to be playing on his Walkman? That was kind of one of the things for that. Yeah.
And I was mad when that guy took it. When they took the cassette, I was so angry. I'm like, I can't take it.
Oh, when he went to prison in the first one? Yeah.
Give it back.
But then he got it back, and he was playing Rubber Band Man later on in the series when it first, It just, I don't know. Oh, I just went away again.
Yeah.
We see you. Now we don't.
There's a whole vibe with the mixtapes. And for those that don't know, what a gift a mixtape is, it's I bought my last mixtape CD that I made from 2011, and I cried.
I have all my cassettes, I think, up in the attic still. I bet you they're. We used to go to what did we go to? Was it called Records Plus then?
Records Plus or Price's Music Store.
Price's, yeah, and we got our mixtape, and that was an exciting event. Yes.
Awesome. All right, guys, we appreciate you joining us this week, and we hope you join us next time. Thank you, Colin, for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Catch us next time on Eat Your Shirt Talk. Take care, guys.